Hey, welcome to my house. Another amazing stories unwrapped. You know, I have one passionate reason to connect with you on my Facebook Live Amazing Stories program twice a week. It's to encourage you. The word encourage is a combination of two old words which literally mean to put courage into someone. You know, life can be tough. Could be that today you're going through some tough times. When I'm up against it, I try to remember this. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. But when we lose our courage, we often lose our toughness. So I'm on a mission, I believe, from God to encourage you, to serve up a heaping helping of courage, to put some hope in your heart, a spring in your step, some steel in your spine. Today, I'd like to give a shout out to this concept of courage. Now, courage isn't necessarily comic book superheroes taking down bad guys and saving the world. Sometimes courage is a regular guy or gal who grits their teeth. They get up. They put one foot in front of another without giving up in the face of overwhelming obstacles. Courage is a kid with a slingshot taking on a giant that nobody says can be beaten, or a Galilean rabbi being willing to be nailed to a cross outside of Jerusalem. Courage is Abraham Lincoln being willing to run for public office again after an unbroken string of failures in the years before. Courage is a person who's willing to stay in an unfulfilling marriage for the sake of the kids because they believe it's the right thing to do. Sometimes it's just getting up in the morning and going to work because that's the right thing to do. Or refusing to join your friends who are gossiping about someone because it's the right thing to do. Courage comes in all shapes and sizes. Maybe you need some today, so I prepared a story for you. I call it The Most Courageous Man in America. 1986, Italian runner Gianni Poli won the New York Marathon in 2 hours and 11 minutes. In 2003, Mark Yattic of Kenya triumphed at Los Angeles in a time of 2 hours and 10 minutes. Both of these were eye-popping times by world-class runners. But there were thousands of other runners in those two races. Most of them were just plodders, trying to finish a 26.2-mile run. After the elite runners like Poli and Yattic crossed the finish line, no one ever pays much attention to the stragglers who cross the same line 4 hours or more later. But spectators in New York and Los Angeles should have stayed around to watch the guy who finished dead last, really dead last in both marathons. Although they would have had to pitch a tent and wait for a long time, this guy ran the slowest marathons in recorded history. Yet what he accomplished those 2 days was far more amazing than the world-class runners who finished first. In fact, I would argue that this guy ran the two greatest marathons ever run, even though in 1986 he completed the New York City race after plodding across the 5 boroughs in 98 hours. It took him a little more than 175 hours to cross the finish line in Los Angeles in 2003. Now, before you write Bob Weiland off, you need to know that he completed both marathons using only his arms. That's right. He went the whole 26.2 miles in each race walking on his hands. You see, Bob has no legs. 1969, while trying to rescue a fallen buddy in Vietnam, Bob stepped on a mortar round designed to destroy tanks. Now, if you want to know what kind of guy Bob is, I want you to listen to the letter he wrote his parents while in the military hospital shortly after he came out of his coma. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm in the hospital. I think everything's going to be okay. The people here are taking good care of me. Love, Bob. P.S. I think I lost both my legs. Bob could have shriveled up in a wheelchair. Instead, he walked across America on his hands. That exploit took 3 years, 8 months, and 6 days to accomplish. He's the only double amputee ever to compete in the Ironman triathlon in Kona, Hawaii, in a wheelchair. For several agonizing days, he swam 2.4 miles in open ocean. Then he biked 112 miles up steep mountains through lava beds and finished up with a 26.2-mile marathon run. He did it in the same course run by all the other competitors, using only his arms and his hands. He twice made a 6,200-mile round-trip bike ride across America, balancing on a bicycle without legs and using just his arms to pedal. You probably aren't surprised to hear that with arms like that, Bob has amassed 4 world records in weightlifting, including an astounding 575-pound bench press. It's no wonder Bob Weiland is called Mr. Inspiration, or that the NFL Players Association awarded him with the title the most courageous man in America. People magazine dubbed him one of the 6 most amazing Americans. After he took more than a week to complete the Los Angeles Marathon while walking on his hands at age 57, Bob amazed reporters by saying, "This was supernatural. I did it by the grace of God." He then summed up his life without legs. "I do it 1 step at a time." A legless man says, "I do it 1 step at a time." Amazing, utterly amazing. Bob Weiland reminds us that the race of life isn't won by the fastest. Most victories in life are won by plodders. Plodders win by grit, by determination, by courage. The courage to put 1 foot, or in Bob's case, 1 arm, in front of the other, when every muscle, every sinew in your body and mind is screaming, "I can't go on. I'm worn out. I'm discouraged. I want to drop out of the race and lay on soft grass under yonder shade tree." Courage for Bob Weiland wasn't even finishing a marathon or a cross-country bike ride using only his arms and hands. It was believing that he could. It was getting out of bed when the doctor said he would never walk again, and learning how to walk on his hands. How many times did Bob fall down in a heap of exhaustion and frustration, only to get up again and try again? Now that's courage. Maybe the wear and tear of life has put you on the ragged edge. Maybe you're ready to give up before the race is over. The story of Bob Weiland reminds us that when our legs are gone and our arms and our hands are worn to a nub, we can still make it. Now, I think Bob would agree with something that the poet Robert Service once said. It's the steady, the quiet, the plodding ones who win the race of life. So I'm going to challenge you today to go out. I want to challenge you to remember the words of one of the most courageous men in the 20th century. I don't think we'd be here without Winston Churchill. When the bombs were falling, when London was under bombardment day after day and thousands of people were being killed and people were forced to hide in holes under the ground, in bomb shelters, and Adolf Hitler's Luftwaffe was doing its worst, Winston Churchill went to Harrow College to give a graduation speech. When he spoke to the young men there, I think he was speaking to the entire nation. He said it on radio to the entire nation. A simple speech. 1 line. Never, 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 never give up. As you go out today, I want to say the same thing to you. If you've lost your legs, learn to walk on your hands. If you've lost the will to go on, get it back again. I believe that courage is the willingness to take a risk. It's the willingness to keep on going on. It's the willingness to stand up against the whole world when the whole world tells you you can't do it. and say, I believe I can do it. To forget what lies behind, as the Apostle Paul said. To reach forward for the prize ahead. To never give up. Not on your marriage, not on your job, not on your career, not on your children, not on your church, not on your ministry. Never give up. Now that's courage. So go out today. If you have to leave right now, then I hope you'll remember this all weekend and in the days to come. If you can stay with me on overtime, we'd love to just share with you, to check in with you, to give a shout out if you give us your name, and to listen to your comments. You always have such great comments. And to answer any questions you may have about today's talk on courage. The most courageous man in the world, Bob Weiland. By the way, Google Bob Weiland. I just told you a little bit of his story. I think you'll be impressed with what you read if you just go on Google and find out more about Bob Weiland, W-I-E-L-A-N-D. Joyce, it's good to have you here. I know you're one of the most courageous women in the world because you said yes when I asked you to marry me, and you've lived with me all these years. And by the way,
That's
for all
true.
those who don't see Joyce on camera because she likes to sit at the other end of the couch and talk to you, go on my Facebook Live page and you'll see a couple of beautiful pictures of Joyce, and you'll know why I'm so in love with her. Well, Joyce,
Hi, everybody. Let's shout out to several people here. Charlene, of course, is with us.
Hi, Charlene.
Of course, Renee.
Renee, it wouldn't be a day without you.
Donna.
Donna, good to have you with us. Is
Chris
that Donna
McDonald.
Barano, I bet?
Yes, Donna Barano.
Good to have you with us, Donna. Chris McDonald, always good to have you with us.
Let's see. Cindy Phillips is with us.
Hi, Cindy. Good to have you with
Hey,
us.
Cindy. Thanks for joining us today. I know that, let's see, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Grubb.
Rebecca Grubb, one of my longtime friends. I hope you're doing well up in the Carolinas.
And Jay Paul. Hi, Jay Paul.
Jay Paul, good to have you with us all the way from Hyderabad, India, and your beautiful wife, too.
And Renee, and Raj. Remember Raj? The
Hi,
name
Raj.
I couldn't pronounce.
Hi,
the other
Raj.
day.
Good to have you with us.
And his family is watching with
Good
him.
to have your family with us, too, all the way from India.
I think it's Bangalore, if I'm not
Bangalore,
mistaken.
beautiful part of India.
And Gina Watson is watching.
Hi, Gina. I'm going to be with your son, Tony, in just about an hour.
Bobby Lee Tanner.
Hi, Bobby Lee.
Bobby Lee.
Good to have you with us. Say hi to Lucas.
And I think, let me see, make sure. Celine Cuomo.
Hi, Celine.
Hi, Celine. Welcome, everybody.
I'm
know
sure
that-
others will join us later, Joyce, and we can say hi to them along the way. And a lot of people join afterwards. We have hundreds and thousands of people who will join us later on. And so as you join us over the next several days, I just want to welcome you to our Facebook Live program.
Oh, and Renee said she wanted me to acknowledge the group that's watching in a watch party. And I'm not sure exactly what that is, but hold on.
Well, it's good to have a watch party. I'm glad you're with us. And
The group name is Daily Encouraging Word. Hello, everyone.
Well, I love your title, Daily Encouraging Word. It's exactly what I want to do. Encouraging, as I said in my talk about the most courageous man in America, encouragement means simply to put courage in people. So you're about the right business.
Yes.
We all need to have a group of people who encourage one another.
For sure. And Dory Detler told me I forgot her, and I did.
Hi, Dory. Well, we don't want to forget Dory. Dory's too important
And
to forget.
Hi, Dory. And Ty Gilliland.
Hi,
is with
Ty.
us.
Ty's a great guy. Ty's going to move. Ty, I hope you made that decision. I think you're going to be moving from Missouri to the Carolinas, and I hope everything's
it's
going
North
well for
Carolina.
you.
And Janice Kelly.
Hi, Janice.
Hi,
Good to have
Janice.
you with us. Great to have you with us. Looking forward to being with you soon.
Okay, let's see. Celine said, what a nice thing to say to your wife, better than diamonds. You're probably thinking that too.
She is, and she likes diamonds too, but she's better than diamonds. You know, the Bible says that a good woman is more precious than rubies, and I think that is so true. The Bible says beauty is fleeting, but a woman of force, and Joyce is a woman of force, is worth the whole world.
Thank you. Renee has a question.
Yes.
Dr. Bob, what do you say to yourself when you need to stay the course?
What do I say to myself? Well, listen, what I say is if I give up, it'll be a lot easier to give up next time. You know, giving up is a habit. And I think that whenever I exercise, I always set a goal for myself. And I try never to stop before I reach the goal. When I climb up a mountain, I love to mountain climb, I try never to sit down going up the mountain because I know it'll be harder to get up next time. And I just think that quitting is a habit. It is a habit I don't want to have. In the same way, I think staying the course is also a habit. It becomes a way of life. Courage is like perseverance. It's like faith. It's a muscle that you develop. And you can't develop the muscle of courage unless you put yourself in situations where you have to exercise courage.
Celine mentioned that her mom is listening and she has cancer. She said, never give up, Mom. And no, you can't ever give up. And you never know what God is going to do in your life.
And Celine, I've seen so many people that have beat cancer. And even those who didn't beat cancer, they beat cancer in the sense that they didn't let cancer beat them. They used it to encourage other people. I tell you what, as a man who was as a pastor for years and years, I saw people in the worst kinds of situations, and so many of those people, I went away blessed more by being with them than I think I ever blessed them. And so even when we're in the worst kinds of situations, I think that God can use those situations to bless everyone round about us.
Yes, and I definitely agree with that. And
we'll be praying for you, and we'll be keeping you in our thoughts, and we'll be sending up lots of smiles for you, and lots of, just know we're in your corner.
Dory is Renee's bestie. Beautiful bestie.
Beautiful bestie, what a great name. Joyce sometimes calls me her beautiful beastie. So I'm glad that for that.
Oh my. I do have a question.
Okay.
How do we find courage? I think right now, because of the heart issues I'm having, just as a human, I go back to being a little fearful, and yet I've seen God work amazing things in my own life with having breast cancer in the past, and then this whole heart thing and several other issues. But how do we find courage? And I wished I didn't go back to that, to feeling a little fearful and knowing that God is going to take care of everything.
Well, it's human nature.
Yes.
I love to read stories in the Old Testament about how God would do one miracle after another miracle after another miracle, particularly in the crossing of the Sinai desert to the Promised Land. And every time when they would face their next difficulty, the next desert without water, the next situation without food, they would immediately forget that he had opened the seas for them, that he brought water out of rocks. I think it's our nature to have victory, and then when we face the next crisis, to forget the faithfulness of God in our victories in the past and our own ability to overcome in the past. And so, Joyce, that's pretty natural. By the way, Joyce is one of the most courageous women I know. I was in the room with her when she gave birth to Rachel after a 24-hour situation. Well, she says 21, but for me it seemed like 50 hours. and I was with her when she went through her cancer and her mastectomy. I was with her. I've been with her time after time when my wife has shown herself to be one of the most courageous people in the world. And my wife is my inspiration, one of my great inspirations for life. But how do we get courage, Joyce? I think we have to make choices. I think we have to choose, first of all, to embrace risk rather than playing it safe. So I think unless you take a risk with a dream, with a vision, unless you go out and attempt something so great that you face failure in it, you'll never develop courage. So to embrace risk as opposed to playing it safe. I think secondly, to embrace integrity as opposed to rejection. What I mean by that is, if we stand on the truth, if we stand up for what's right, if we exercise integrity, we will be rejected by people. And so a lot of people lose their courage of their convictions because they're afraid that they won't be popular, they'll be rejected, they'll be left alone. I think we have to embrace death as opposed to living at all cost. By that I mean this. It was a line I heard years ago. I forget who wrote it, but they said, "Cowards die daily, but heroes die only once." And so I have to ask myself oftentimes, what's the worst thing that could happen to me if I stay the course? What's the worst thing that could happen to me if I do this thing which is right? Well, the worst thing that could happen to me is I could die. Well, there are worse things than dying. Going to heaven. That's to live on this earth as a play it safe person without integrity, always trying to please other people, trying to live another day. I would rather not live another day on this earth than to be a coward, than to forego my dreams, than to forego the vision, the mission I have. So I want to be a man of integrity. I know Joyce is a woman of integrity. I think integrity is the key to courage.
Thank you, Bob. Celine said that she said thank you. She said my mom is crying tears of joy for the prayers. And I know several have said here that they will be praying for her. I asked her what her mom's name was. It's always nice to have a first name. Pamela Jamie Franklin from the watch party made this comment.
Hi, Pamela.
Hi, Pamela. She says, I live with chronic pain and depression daily, and it's a struggle. So we probably need
Pam, if you live with that,
too.
You may sometimes be tempted to focus on the depression, on the chronic pain. I would say to you that you need to focus on that first couple of words of that line, you live with. Every day that you get up and live with, you are showing yourself to be a woman of incredible courage. And I remember one time I spoke to a friend and I said, I don't know if I can make it. I don't even know if the thing I believe in is going to happen, or the one I believe in is going to see me through. I just feel like all I can do is put one foot in front of the other. I'm not even sure I have faith. My friend said, you are the very definition of one living in faith. It's when it's impossible, when it's improbable, when you can't see the end of the road and you still get up in the morning and you put one foot in front of the other and you live another day, another minute. That's when you show courage. That's the kind of courage that Superman, Spider-Man, all the Marvel comic book heroes don't even show. The courage to live when it's difficult. That's courage. Congratulations, you're one of my heroes.
I just have a comment. It's as you're not seeing this screen, but as I'm watching the screen here, people are already saying that they're going to be praying and giving blessings of scripture verses, etc., to Pamela and to Patricia, which is Celine's mother's name. And just know that we will keep you in our prayers. This is a great group for doing that, and we're so encouraged by your doing this. We really appreciate it.
Well, I do. And this is really our dream for Amazing Stories Unwrapped. We like to tell an amazing story each time, and we hope that'll hook people in here. But really, the whole point of the amazing story is to realize that God does amazing things, and people can do amazing things. He didn't create junk. He created people who can do the impossible, dream the impossible, accomplish the impossible. He created us in his image. And he is a God of the impossible. And so he creates us to be people of the impossible. That's why I tell these amazing stories. And I love it when we all gather together around these amazing stories, because we all individually have amazing stories. I believe this.
Amen.
The greatest stories God has ever written, other than Jesus' story, is your story and my story. And when we share our stories and swap our stories together, we can encourage each other and we can all make it together.
Raj's son, Samuel,
Hi,
has
Samuel.
a question. We're so glad your family's watching, Raj.
Wow, that's great.
How can courage influence in bad times?
How can encourage influence in bad times? Well, I tell you what, Samuel, you just reminded me that I need to tell a story next week. So I will tell a story next week called The 40 Martyrs of Sebaste.
Samuel.
Samuel.
Is the son's name. Mm-hmm.
And so Samuel, the 40 Martyrs of Sebaste. I'll do that next week on Thursday. On Tuesday, I'm going to have a story about the Great Pestigo Fire. And I think both of these stories will just bless all of your socks off. But Samuel, I believe that the world lacks courage. A lot of people want to have courage. A lot of people wish they could stand up for the truth. They wish that they could say no sometimes. They wish that they could say yes when they should say yes. And they wish they could just go on. And when they see you and me showing courage in tough times, in times that require courage, that require faith, that require fortitude, that require perseverance, then we give them hope. And if we can point not only to ourselves, but to point to our God as the one who gives us the strength and the power, the one who's in us is greater than the one who's in the world. If we can show that, then we will inspire other people. And so when you go through bad times, just understand God has given you a wonderful opportunity to help other people get through their bad times too, by the way you inspire them.
Thank you, Bob. There's another person from the watch party, Sonia.
Hi, Sonia.
She says she is waiting for a double lung transplant, and would not have made it this far without the Lord by my side and giving me encouragement every day.
Well, Sonia,
we're going to be praying for you too.
We are, and what a great person of courage and faith you are. You know, when I go out tomorrow and do my 8 or 9 mile walk again, and it's hot here and I just feel like giving up, I'm going to remember you, how you continue to live in desperate need of lungs. And yet you encourage me and you encourage so many other people. Thanks for being with us, Sonia, and thanks for encouraging us. All of you that were here today. I know there are more people come on. There'll be more comments and questions.
Bridget Trusty.
Just when I'm ready to wrap up, Joyce always has another one.
Hi, Bridget. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, Bridget.
And Louise Kish Brown.
Hi, Louise Brown. Oh, Louise Brown's a great person. Good to have you with us, too. Look it. I wish that we could stay on all day. I suspect if we stayed on all day, there would be people coming in from all over the place, because people need what we're talking about. I need to remind myself. I benefit as much from these amazing stories unwrapped as anybody that ever listens, and we all benefit from each other. You have a great weekend. I'll see you next Tuesday, 12:50 East Coast time. God bless.
Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.